All right, you're buying a car in 2023 or 2024 or just anytime soon. There are 3 things you need to do to take control to show the car dealer that you know what you're doing and you're not going to get the runaround or taken advantage of. You sold cars for 40 plus years. I'm your offspring. Together, we help people buy cars. Let's run through the 3
Together,
things.
between the 2 of us, we have 43 years of retail automotive experience.
Just all his.
Yes.
3 things you need to say, you need to do when you go to the car dealer, Dad. What is number 1, the most important thing?
Ask for the out-the-door price. Now, you hear us talk about that all the time, where we go, out the door, OTD. Well, what exactly does that mean? When you're negotiating the car deal, you want to negotiate the bottom line total price of everything. So you have the manufacturer suggested retail price of the car. You want to negotiate a discount off of that. Okay, and you want to agree to a selling price. If there's any dealer installed accessories, you want to negotiate those and agree to those into the out the door price. So you've agreed to a selling price. Now you get to add the tax, title, license, and doc fee. Okay, now doc fees will vary by state. And in some states they're capped, like California, it's $85. In other states, they're not. In Florida, we've seen them as high as $1,500. The doc fee is just a profit center for the dealership, but they're not going to take it off. They're going to leave that on the deal.
You can try and negotiate off the selling price,
But
you
cannot get them to actually remove the doc fee from the buyer's order. So you want the agreed upon selling price plus tax, title, license, and doc fee. If you were to actually write a check, what that bottom line number would be, so you could write that check.
And I think this is important because dealers, salespeople, sales managers, they are really focused on asking you about your monthly payment. Everything is tied back to monthly payment. So when you're asked the question, hey, what do you want what's your payment goal? Where do you want to be payment range? You come back with, I'd like to know what the out the door price is for stock number XYZ.
Yes. The out the door payment is irrelevant at this point.
The monthly payment is irrelevant.
The monthly payment is irrelevant at this point. What we need to concentrate on, Mr. Salesperson, is the out the door price. That's what I'm concerned with.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, number 2. What is the second thing after you've gone through the rigmarole of negotiating the out-the-door price, not getting fixated on monthly payments? What's the second thing you need to do to kind of show that, hey, I'm in control here, I know what I'm doing when I'm buying a car?
If you have a trade-in, and most people do the trade-in next, and do it as a separate transaction. They have sold you on their car. It's your turn to sell them on your car. So you have them appraise your car, and then you come to an agreement as to what the value of your vehicle will be. That's a completely separate transaction.
Got an entire guide that you wrote about trade-in tactics for success, because the last thing you want to do is take whatever the KBB number is, they plop it on the buyer's order, which you're going to get to financing here in just a second, but they plop it on the buyer's order and you're good. No, it's a separate transaction like you were saying, so you have to do your market research. You have this whole trade-in guide, and in some states there's a sales tax basis benefit.
Yes.
So the dealer may actually offer you less for your trade-in than you could get if you sold it to Carvana or someone like that, or back on CarEdge.com/sell, but it still might actually make more sense because it reduces your your sales tax basis. It gets complex, but we have this free guide. You wrote it. It's really solid information. So you gotta dot your I's and cross your T's on the trade-in and treat it, like you said, as a separate transaction after you've negotiated the out-the-door price of the car you're looking to buy.
Exactly. And once you've done all that, you then get them to reflect that agreed upon trade amount on your out the door number, so that now your out the door number is going to go down if you're in a state where you get the sales tax savings, because you have that trade allowance now reflected in there.
Well, it'll go down no matter what, because they're going to add a line item that is, $15,000 for your trade value. If you have a trade payoff, then it actually might go up because you might owe more. And then on top of that would be, if there is the sales tax basis benefit, the actual basis for what you're now paying sales tax on could go down if you're in a state where that happens.
Yes.
So again, lots of complexities in there, but the free guide is very free, and you should avail yourself of that information.
It is very guiding.
It is very guiding. All right, so what is the third thing, Dad, you need to know, you need to show when you go to the dealership?
Well, the third thing will be when you go to finish the transaction and actually pay for the vehicle. So the third thing is, when you're in the finance office and you're trying to finance the vehicle, you're going to ask the finance manager, oh, by the way, what's the buy rate that the bank gave you for this loan? Now, you're going to look at me and go, what do you mean by the buy rate? Well, because this is indirect lending, you are not going to the bank directly. You're doing it through the dealership. They're operating on your behalf trying to place the loan, which means when there is an approval, the bank agrees to sell that money to the dealership at a certain rate. That's known as the buy rate. That certain rate might be 4%. The dealership is allowed to mark that rate up because they're the ones that are finding the loan for you. So they might mark it up to 6% or 5.5%. And that extra percentage that they charge is extra profit for the dealership. So your job is to say to the finance manager, by the way, what was the buy rate the bank gave you on that approval? And then you can start negotiating, between the buy rate and the sell rate. And the sell rate is the actual rate that they're going to charge you.
Absolutely. And then another thing to keep in mind, just like we were talking about with the trade and how you can get some leverage there. Again, read the guide, but do market research, figure out what your vehicle's worth. On the financing piece, if you choose to finance and you need to ask for the buy rate, go to a local credit union and get a pre-approval for what you could get, what an interest rate is that you would qualify for on that loan. That is one way that you have leverage when you walk into the finance office. It's not just, hey, could you please show me that buy rate? Like, sure, they will be like, what dealership did you work at?
Yeah.
When were you an F&I manager? But if you actually have some leverage and say, hey, can you show me that buy rate and can you beat this approval I have? That is a really good 1-2 punch to make sure that if you follow all three of these steps, you're going to end up, it's going to be a quicker transaction. It's going to be way more fair.
Yes.
Because you're going to have a level playing field for the whole thing. And it's pretty, it's complex a little bit, but it's pretty simple stuff. Out the door, trade in separate transaction and do your market research. And on financing, don't just take the first, I guess I'm approved for 10%. No, it's what is the buy rate on that loan, and can you beat my 7.5% I've got from my local credit union?
Exactly.
Did you ever deal with customers who came in that buttoned up, that prepared when you were selling cars?
Very rarely.
And when you did, what'd you think?
I think I'm not going to make as much money on these folks.
Pretty simple stuff, guys.
It really is.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.